Over the next few videos, I'm going to be introducing you to Unity's audio system. However, before I actually get into the topic of audio, there are a few ground rules that I want to lay down, some things that I want you to be aware of before we even get started. Due to the nature of the Unity Fundamentals lessons, we're just going to be approaching sounds from a strictly Unity-centric perspective. We're not going to get into scripting. Now, what does that mean to you? Well, it means that we can make environmental sounds, we can make ambient sounds if we like, we can put in things like music, but hardcore sound effects, the kind of things you'd expect from playing a game, such as when a character shoots a gun, you want to hear a gun sound. When they jump, you might want to hear a character go like they're jumping, or maybe if it's a cartoony game, you hear like boing. But we're not going to be able to do that because triggering sounds to that degree requires some sort of tie-in via script. Not to mention that really to get that sort of thing done, you have to have a script in the first place. So we're not approaching that. We're just showing you how the tools within Unity work. But we can still use them to drop down ambient sounds and create music if we want to. We just won't be able to transition the music. Now, that said, the other thing that I want to make sure you're aware of is that this is not a Foley video. I am not going to address the topic of creating sound effects or even really downloading sound effects or music or anything like that. I have a very simple sound effect that I will be playing just to kind of help you out and help you understand the topics that I'm discussing, and a bit of public domain music that we'll be playing at some point just so that you can hear a simple music setup for your levels. Now, I'll warn you ahead of time. The sound effect that I've selected is just a repetitive beep. It's like a, I don't know, once every 3/4 of a second we send out a beep. And it's very, very, very simple. Now, the reason I chose that is that if you loop a beep sound, because it's so repetitive, it's very easy to hear changes in the sound. So if you add effects or filters, or if you want to show off the Doppler effect, that sort of thing, it's very easy to hear the difference if all you're playing with is a simple beep. So if between now and the end of these videos you're tired of hearing the beep, by all means, on your end, please go get your own sound effects from some sort of sound effect library, or record your own if you want to play with some Foley, because that stuff can be really fun. I just want you to know in advance that I'm not even addressing that end of things. Okay, so now with all that understood, let's have a basic primer for the audio system. Unity's audio system is dependent on two primary components. And these components are the audio listener and the audio source. Now, the audio listener is kind of like your ears in the scene. Not ease. Drop the R while I'm writing. That's great. It's kind of like your ears. It is going to take any incoming sounds and broadcast them out to the speakers of your computer. Now, as a rule, you can only have one in each scene. And most of the time, this will be attached to your camera. Perhaps not all the time, but probably 9 times out of 10, you're going to have this audio listener coming along with wherever the camera is, so that the player can hear what's actually going on. Now, on the flip side, we have the audio source. This is responsible for playing sounds. That is what it does. Now, it has a lot of settings on how you can control the sound in 2D and 3D space, so it's capable of dealing with 3D sounds, meaning the sounds can be spatialized. If you are close to a sound, it will be loud. As you move away from the sound, it will get quieter. It also offers the effect of Doppler, so as you approach a sound, the pitch will raise, and as you move away from a sound, the pitch will lower. Like when you hear a police siren as it screams past you, it sounds really high pitch as it rushes up to you, and then as it recedes into the distance, you hear the sound kind of dropping back down. It has all kinds of effects that are built in, along with a great visualization system, which is actually noteworthy, so we'll write that down. It's a great way to see how your sound is actually being processed on the far side, and we'll be taking a look at that when we jump into the audio source itself. Now, there are some other components as well that are very useful an important, the first one of these is reverb zones. And the name pretty much tells you what these do. These are spherical zones that you can set up in your levels within which you can establish a type of reverberation. Like echo, like if you go into a concrete hallway or a cave, or maybe a baseball stadium, so that when you talk you can hear your voice echo back to you. That's what a reverb zone does. But it's a spherical area in 3D space, so that you can move into it and hear the reverb, and then as you move out of it, the reverb goes away. And we'll be showing you how those work as well. Finally, and I gotta kind of write a number way out here, so I realize my note-taking skills are eating up way too much paper here. We have audio filters. Now, these are a pro-only feature. And these include things like a high-pass filter, a low-pass filter, and a variety of other effects that if you've ever worked with audio, you've probably heard before. You've got things like echo, distortion, chorus, and others that you can just bolt right onto your sound effect. And the really cool thing about filters is that they can be applied to an audio source so that that source receives the effect of echo or distortion or whatever, or they can be applied directly to an audio listener so that all incoming sounds receive whatever the effect of that filter happens to be. So those are the components that we're about to see. I just wanted to make sure that you got kind of a brief introduction to what you're going to be working with here. The primaries, of course, just being the audio source and the audio listener. It's really as simple as you just scatter some audio sources in your scenes, and your listener, which is automatic and has no settings, it's very, very easy to work with, will just pick up those sounds and report them right back out to your speakers. But I think that's enough of an intro. So in the next video, we'll jump in and take a look at audio listeners and audio sources. That will wrap things up for this video. Thanks for watching.